Here we go, here we go. I think we're ready to go. I'm RTC, Richard the Schwalik, and I'm going to talk about white fragility, white male fragility, especially, yes, white male fragility, and what effect it has on America, and the fact that we are not able to discuss a lot of things appropriately because of that white male fragility. And we have a lot of things going on in the United States that have been going on all the time. White people often just don't notice it, so they think that when there's Black Lives Matter or something new is occurring, and it's new socialism or something like that. But that's white male fragility. Every time a white male throws socialism on something, that's pretty much that they're scared. They're just fearful of all kinds of things. And it's just a way to go, they just kind of freak out. Socialism, they have that kind of a breakdown when they hear that type of thing. So it's one of those deals where in America, we know that there are situations that probably should get taken care of, but after a while we forget about them. We think they're gone because we forget about them personally. You and I, white guy, forgets that they're not there. We don't care to look, or we think it's all done. Everything's good, right? It's because we've moved on. And then we get slapped with this, and we're so fragile because we thought it's gone that we're just, boom, we're freaked out, and we got to say these things, constantly say the same things. I've been listening to this book. It's called 30 Days, A Black Man. This guy named Ray Sprigle went into the South back in 1948, and he, as a black man, he was white, but he went with a person from the NAACP, and he wore certain clothes at the time in the area and that kind of thing, and it was blended in. And no one was going to say that they were a black man if they weren't, basically, in that day and age in the Jim Crow South. And so they toured around there, and he took some notes, and then he came and reported on it a month later, or so, after he got everything put together and written up. And he did this series for a whole month, and then I think they did a book about it. But then this guy named Bill Steigerwald has redone this book, or taken the book, taking the parts that he thought were important, and some of the new things that he went down there in recent days, like 2015, 14. He was researching the book. He published it in like 2017, and so it's a very interesting book. But the blatantly obvious things in this book is the quotes they had from white people that were upset about this article. Of course, Hal said, that's not who we are. We're not like that. And, of course, one newspaper editor said from the South, Mississippi, or wherever he was from, Alabama, said, hey, he said, well, that's not how it is here. We have all these good things. Maybe there was one school like that. Maybe there was one situation like that. And, of course, maybe in his town there was one situation, but it was pretty much rampant. And so you would hear these, even from people in the North, when this article came out, they were really, these articles, 21 of them over a month or so, however long they did it. But every time, they get these comments, kind of like you'd see online, but these were sent into the newspaper, and some of them were published. Looks like, do I have something going on here? Error while recording. Looks like I might be off the air again. So it seems like I've been having some struggles like that because of the internet connection or something. So I'm just going to go on as if, and hopefully it is still being produced as I do this, but we'll have to see as we go on here. I have to redo it again. Once again, I'm Richard the Schwalik, and white male fragility. When these people, they wouldn't call in, they'd mail their letters in and respond letters to the editor and responses. But they basically, back in 1948, are saying the same things that we say today, white people do, about the situation. Oh, it's just good. It's already good for black people. They have it fine. Why do they want more? And, every 10 or 20 years, that's what white people say. They were saying that a week after slavery was over. Well, if slavery's over, what do they want to complain about? We've said that all the time. The same things. We say the same things. Repeat the same things. The white people that say that never wanted it to get better from day one. If they would have been born 200 years ago, they would be those same people saying the same exact things. They wouldn't have been the people that got rid of slavery. They would have been the people that go, hey, at least they have some food and shelter. Right? The same things. Somehow, white people think no one else should want to raise their standards or their situation any higher than where it is, because white people are tired of hearing about it. I mean, if I wasn't a white person, you know what I would say to white people? Well, sure, I'm sorry, I got in your face. Things suck, in a lot of ways, that they don't suck for you, but I'm fine with that. If you're not fine with me not being fine with it, I'm fine with you now. See, that's what I would do. That's what you would do. That's what white people would do if the situation was reversed. Right? Exactly. Yeah. It's the same thing for women, right? If women ruled the world and we said women ruled the world and they said men can only do this, us men in that situation would have gone, hey, that's what we're going to do then. We're not going to do any more than that. Even though we can do most every damn thing that women do, we're going to accept it. That's what we would do. Yeah, we wouldn't do it that way, no. So anytime somebody says they want more out of life, and the country's not giving it to them because of certain rules and certain norms and certain things, they're going to keep asking for that. Period. End of statement. That's what they're going to do. And white male fragility has just got to get out of the way. From the standpoint of complaining about other people complaining that they don't have what we already have. And I'm not saying every white guy has it perfect. No, I don't. I don't have it perfect. But that doesn't mean that I don't have privilege over other people, because I am white. And it's not just about slavery. Slavery is just a point in time, right? It stopped at a certain point in time, the slavery, chattel slavery, right? Jim Crow morphed into something else which wasn't good. No matter what that editor from Southern Alabama said, it wasn't good in 1948. And for white people to be offended by people asking to have what white people have, not specifically, very few black people are going, hey, I want to be a white person. I wouldn't grow up to feel that way if I had been treated like that. But from the standpoint of rights and privileges and the norms and all of that playing out the same way. And they don't in this country. They never have. And they can't. They cannot with white fragility getting in the way and white privilege. Right? Those are in the way of that happening. I don't know how to get out of all of that. I don't know how we change all of that. But to be fragile, it's just gross. It's like, it's like a bunch of wimps out there. Oh no, Black Lives Matter. It's threatening my Blue Lives Matter concept. Well, too bad. Get over it. Be able to talk about the actual things that are going on rather than getting all upset and having to go, Blue Lives Matter too. All lives matter. Well, of course they do, but that's not the case. That's why Black Lives Matter. White cops get to shoot people of color and get away with it very easily compared to other situations. They do. They do, and they have. If you look back in history, slavery, what could they do during slavery? Just about anything. Just about anything. In this story, they talked about a person that went to a church. He had somebody come onto his property that the police were chasing. This is down south. This is like 1945 or so. He had the person on his property to figure out what to do because the white people wanted to kill him, to lynch him right there. Supposedly had murdered somebody, but right down there you don't know. So they take this gentleman who was like a deacon in his church and the accountant for the church, right? and a farmer, not the person running from the cops, but just the guy that was on his property. They took him to jail. And then 5 days later, they had his wife come get his body. And they said that this guy, probably my age, maybe a little older, had attacked him in the prison, and so they had to shoot him. But of course, they beat his head to a pulp. I mean, literally, his head was just a sack with bones in it. And then they arrested her. And who knows what they own, but they got her out of jail. But they killed this guy, murdered him, and they just said, so you got slavery, where they could do anything. Jim Crow, where they could accuse you, a cop, right? A cop is not a cop, it's just a thug. That's the original thugs, okay? When you say there's gangs that are thugs, that's all the cops were back in the day, in the 50s and 40s, for the most part. I mean, it wasn't like a couple bad apples, it was a barrel of rotten shit, the whole place, when it came to race. The whole country, hell of a lot worse in the South, but still pretty damn bad, right? So then they can kill the guy just because he did. And now they have laws that protect the white cops from killing 2-3 times more by percentage of a black person. Laws. Partial immunity or whatever it's called. Right? That protect somebody from killing someone, just like the guy in the prison, just like slavery. It was legal to have slaves, so they got to do that. It was legal to have Jim Crow. States' rights was Jim Crow. That's why we have states' rights for the most part, so we can have slavery and Jim Crow and all these voter suppression and all this kind of crap. That's why states' rights. It might be for other things, but that's not what we've used it for. Okay? White fragility. It's history that keeps following us. It changes, but it doesn't change enough. And when a white person says, hey, what are they always complaining about? Well, you know who complains more? About the white people complaining about the black people. Because there's more white people, so we complain more. There's more of us, we're complaining all the time about somebody wanting something. White guys especially. Because of course the women can't do what we can do because we said so. You know, they can't carry a 70-pound rucksack, so they can't be in the army. We'll make it a 68.2-pound rucksack, or make it a 25-pound rucksack. Or let the women carry half a rucksack. I don't know. Let them drive the tank. But no, we get nothing. Do nothing. I mean, that's kind of white fragility, right? Male, because we can use it against females as well. That's the kind of thing that makes up white fragility. Okay? It is our inability to take criticism. Our inability to say, hey, this is wrong. I have 2 daughters, okay? 2 daughters, no sons. If anybody said, oh, because she's a woman, she can't. That guy can't ever do anything ever again after they say that to my daughter. So think about that, okay? That's all you have with the, oh, they can't. And they obviously can do it. That's the kind of thing that we have not dug down deep in and tried to deal with. Oh, well, it's just merit. You just got to work harder. That's not all it is. If that was all it is, that would be all it is. And we know that's not all it is. You think when I own a company and my kids come to work there, they have to all work up the ladder like you did being my employee? Not necessarily. That's not merit. I mean, maybe I should do it that way, and that's the best way to do it, but I don't have to. It's my company. That's not merit. That's genetics. So, because we can't deal with those issues, we have to, stop it. Don't ask to be any better off. We don't need that. stop it. Us men can't handle it. It's pressure on us. Yeah, you know what? A lot of us wouldn't have our jobs if everything was equal. We'd have to create more jobs, but a lot of us wouldn't have the jobs if it was actually merit. I don't know if it'd be you, but it might be me, or it might be your friend, or your best buddy that you would never been best buddies with because she wouldn't have been smart enough or whatever because we didn't let this group in, but now if we let them in, yes, we would lose out, some of us. That we're scared. That's a fragile part of it too. We're fragile. It's everything. It's just like, oh my God, if it changes, what will happen? You know, it's the same thing with gay marriage. Oh, when gay marriage comes, all other marriages will fail. Jeez. It's like with allowing Muslims into the country. Well, it'll take over our country. Yeah, you know why? Because we're not very good. If they can take over our country, if they, whoever they are, they must have something better. We must not be strong enough. Our ability to thwart they, you know, of course you could shoot people, which is what half the country seems to want to do. But I mean, if you can't compete with them, maybe they should run the country. Is our ideals not strong enough? We're just so stupid we're going to take it in? Then what are we about? What have we done for the last 250 years as a country? What have we taught people? Nothing. Absolutely nothing then. If somebody can come in, and they're like 1% of the population, and we're shitting our pants now, we've already lost. If we're shitting our pants now, we've already lost. Go home and just stay there and shit your pants. My God, you fragile males. White males, you're just like sickening. You're sickening me. Yes, I'm self-loathing of all guys that do that. If you don't have the guts to stand up there and take it mano a mano from the standpoint of your ideas, and then quit whining. But we have to get to better. Are we going to have perfect? No, because you are you. I'm me, so of course we could, but you are you. No, I mean, no, we can't. But that some people can have it a little bit better, and we can't still stomp on them? I mean, man, what kind of a... It's just gross. It's just how we're so insulated from reality that we have to make a better reality for ourselves. All these people that say, oh, our country's good, you don't have to bring up all the bad stuff, that'll make us look bad. Well, because you're weak and you're fragile? Because we've got a fragile country. We can't look at our past, the bad stuff, because we're fragile. We're weak. We're pathetic. If we can't look at the tough stuff and say, ooh, you know, I'm going to be just blunt with you. I hate criticism. If you get on there and say, hey, you're stupid, isn't it? I'll just fall apart. I'll just be But, hey, we're human. We do those things. But we still have to learn something, right? We have to learn things and not be afraid of everything. If somebody's just abusive, we don't have to listen to them. I hate you. That's different. Of course, that's what I'm doing now. But just to white males. But, right? I mean, if we can't have an honest discussion of what can be better, and if somebody doesn't have it as good as we do, and I don't mean that everybody gets to make $52,000.20 and we all drive the same boring Russian-made car. You know, there's 5% of the people who want to do the craziest things. Yeah, okay. I know that. You know that. But most of us just want to live a good life. But if others just want to live a good life and they can't because the rules have been shaved off so they can't climb up, right? So it's slippery, a lot slipperier, right? It's worse for them to do what they need to do compared to us, whoever us might be. Then we have to look at that and we have to say, okay, how can we change that? But if you're afraid you're going to lose your job, or you're going to have to pay another dollar in taxes just to make better changes, what kind of a wimpoid fights that to the tooth and nail? Well, they don't get this. You know, when it comes to what white people have gotten it all over the years, okay? Maybe you haven't. Everybody doesn't get clipped into everything that goes on in every situation, but as a white person, every day you wake up, you're a white person. Wherever you go, you're a white person. Right? If you're white now, wherever you go, you're white. So first of all, if you are that, you don't understand. I don't understand it. I understand more of it maybe than you and some other people. But, I mean, when I read these books, like this book I'm reading, it's like, duh, it's generally something I understood, but I never heard about this, I never heard about that. I don't know enough. And every black person doesn't know what every other black person knows, right? But they know it generally better than we do, because they wake up black every morning and go through the day. We don't. And to say, oh, it's no big deal. Oh, why do they want safe spaces? I think of a guy, I don't know if you ever watched Vikings football, but back in the day, maybe 15, 20 years ago now, I don't know when he last played. There's a guy, Mike Morris, he was a long snapper. I knew him. He was from the same hometown I was. He was like a year or two older than me. And big guy. And he kind of looked like me as I do now as a senior in high school or junior or something like that. But by the time he got out of college, he was like, 6'7", and I'm 6'2". He might have been taller than 6'2", but kind of scrawny like me. And he grew into this monster of a guy. 6'7", 265 pounds or something. And his arms were as big as my legs, and I worked out next to him, and it was like a stick figure. I was in pretty good shape. This was a while back. Probably had another 10 pounds of muscles on me, when I was 24, 40, 35, whatever it was. And I was like a stick figure next to him. Okay, so I know when it comes to, plus he made a salary, even though he was a long snapper and not the greatest long snapper ever, he was a very good one. It wasn't the football quarterback that makes the most money. He was making a hell of a lot more money than I had. Probably in 1 year he made more than I had made in the last 10, right? So our privilege was different, but I still had my white skin when I woke up every morning. And I could get things that a black person couldn't. Like if I had a high school diploma, fairly good grades, I would usually, on average, a person like me that had decent grades in high school would make more than a black person that had a college degree. I could get a job better with a felony on my record at the same, if I was graduated high school but with a felony, just right after that, let's say, than a black person that didn't have a felony with a high school education, same, except he didn't have a felony and he was black. That's it. That's all he'd have to have. That's all the difference. And he gets screwed over. And I make it through. That's what privilege does. It's not always that you get $1 billion and you're a billionaire. No. You can have almost nothing. But your almost nothing plus you're white gives you a little bit of something in some areas at some times that a black person never gets. And does he have other privileges? Well, yes, but on average, no. And of course, if you take just your experience, well, I don't have that. It's not me. Yes, it is. You might be the lowest on the totem pole of privileges, but you still have privileges because you're white in that white-black situation comparison. Do some black people have way more money than you? Of course, but that's not an average, right? It's like if I come out of a school, small town, and I was a valedictorian. It's different than I was at one of the most elite schools, and there's 4 times as many people, and I'm the valedictorian. I mean, I'm not the same no matter what, even if my grades are the same, because at my schools, it's not backwards, but you know what I mean. It doesn't have 42 teachers that are all Pulitzer Prize winners or whatever you'd be as a teacher, right? I don't know the main, winners of prizes or whatever, right? I had just people that went to our school and went to 2-year college and are teachers, whatever. The average is going to be different. And so they're going to have more privilege than me, right? Even though I graduated top of my class, right? It's just how those work. But that's not an average, right? On average, people that come at the top of their class in most schools are going to do better people that go at the bottom of the class in most schools. But you can take places and make them, well, this is different, I'm not like that. Well, of course you can make that kind of a comparison, but that's ridiculous because that's not an average, first of all. What I'm trying to get to here is that we, as white people, don't think about all these things, and we set them aside, and we don't have a way to grade them, as in, this is bad. And we also don't have the ability to understand when our omission, right? It's coming from the Catholic Church and whatever, sins of commission and omission, right? You know, you go and you murder somebody with an axe versus you leave your axe on the table, right? You forgot to put it away and that person grabs it and kills it. You didn't do anything. It was just an axe. It was in your house. You use your axe all the time. But if you would have hid it in the basement under some dirt, they would have never have gotten it. And that's kind of a silly example, but you know what I mean. Sins of omission is just you walk by and you didn't know. You were a block away or 2 blocks away and you heard somebody yell, but you're like, oh, I'm busy. And you go on, but they get raped or killed or something. But you could have gone and just walked near them and ran away screaming because you were scared too, but that would have scared the burglar away. So you not doing anything actually caused something. And you don't know that. I mean, it's like, you know, butterfly flapping in the wing, flapping its wings in a tornado, you know, a million miles away, right? We don't know all those things we do, but if we totally are saying there's nothing going on and we don't agree and we don't think anything's happening that's bad, and we keep thinking that, we're going to be in a situation where our omissions are hurting people. So if we don't actively get involved in stopping those things because we are the dominant culture, right? And, you know, we're not 99% of the population, but back in 1975, we were like 85% or 80% of the population, white people. There's less now, but we're still in control. We still have most of the top CEO jobs. I think there's like 1 or 2 African Americans in the billionaire class or something like that. I mean, it's not, and there's, you know, like 5,000 white guys, hardly any women as well. I mean, there's something wrong there. It's not wrong enough that we need to scream out and run down the street, you know, with our heads twirling around and throwing up, right? It's not that bad, but it's not good. Why would you let that happen? Why would you let some asshole, okay, we voted for one of the people that, anyway, why does that, because they're white guys, that they got it? No, it's because we decided back in the day that white guys were supposed to run everything. And that's why they're running it now, because we hadn't given that up. And sins of omission, if you want to call them sins, have to, but our omissions are what lets that occur again and again. Because, oh yeah, duh, it's the white guys who get to do it. We just keep walking along like idiots and letting it happen. So when our daughters grow up in the future, in 1,000 years, it's still happening for the most part. Because we just go, huh, ta-ta, 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 walking along, omitting that anything bad is going on. It's not bad as in murder, but it's bad as in why is it happening? Why did it happen? And why should people be excluded merely because guys in past had ideas, right, that make no sense now? Because other people can see it. You know, 1,000 years ago, you couldn't talk to your friends because you hardly had any. You were working throwing shit for the king and dying in about 5 weeks. You know, any kind of collaboration was like, it didn't do anything. But now we can know everything, and you can't hide this stuff from people. And to think that somehow you can just tamp it down, it's like, it's stupid. It's stupid. We're stupid when we do that. And the reason we fight it off is because we're fragile. Oh, no, don't give people a good education, because then don't spend any more on taxes to help other people, because that would be just like, they would just become lazy. Instead, they die young and get shit for nothing. They get nothing. And that's better, because then, if we give them too much, but white people were given everything. It's just so obvious, but we don't think of it that way. We don't remember. I mean, we tagged it welfare in 1960 or whatever, and we said we're going to give welfare money, whatever that really was. Yeah, we called it that, but we had been giving whites welfare forever. We stole land to give it to white people. We gave away white people land, lots of it. We just gave it away. And then we wouldn't give it to the slaves. Some got it, some did, but they actually had to pay for it. But we didn't give it to any of the slaves after we released them. Oh, that's good enough. Go die without having ability to do anything because nobody's going to give you a job. But we let you go of slavery. We're so good. We're good people. We're white people. We even let you off slavery. What? No, that's not anything. It was terrible that we did it in the first place, and we can't even admit that because we're American exceptionalists, and we can't face reality ever because our country will be ruined. It'll create race riots if you talk about the truth and reality. And sure as hell, white guys don't want to hear reality unless it's us being exceptional in the way we want to be. We think it's exceptional, and we've carved out a path of it's a narrow one, and only white guys get it. And that's what's exceptional. Everything else isn't. It is not. And we're not going to allow it. That's what we do. We're fragile, and we exclude people because of our egos are so frickin' inflated. Well, it's the Western thoughts of white people that made this world the way it is. Yeah, victor goes to spoils, but that doesn't mean somebody else couldn't have done it better. Just that means that we were the ones that got there and killed everybody. Do you think I could? He's been gone for about five or so years or so. But I think I could have killed Stephen Hawking. He was in a wheelchair. So that made me better and smarter than Stephen Hawking, because I could kill him and stuff. It doesn't. It just means that he's no longer around, and that's all that white people ended up doing better. They had the same brains as everybody else, but they used it to kill people and steal their land. That doesn't make us better, it just makes us murderers and shit and thieves. It does. That's all it does. That's it. Because we're narrow. We got nothing else. That makes us exceptional. Is the fact that we can murder and steal. But that's the way it did. They did it back then. Oh, God, I'd just like to frickin' slap happy the people that say that. But that's the way back then. That's how they did it. Well, back in 1939, that's how Hitler did it. Well, why should we complain about that? That's how he did it. He did it back in the day. That's the way he did it. Hitler. And Thomas Jefferson and Andrew Jackson. That's just how they did it back then. They just killed people. I gotta stop now, because that's just perfect. That was one of my best I've ever done it. I don't even know what that is, but it seemed right at the moment. So I gotta go. RTC, Richard the Schwalik. See me on Medium. I'm on Medium. I'm not like a medium. I always wonder about the name of that, but I'm on Medium. I do writing thingies. So look me up. Try to read through those long articles. There's good stuff in them. I pepper it with dots, periods, and commas. They're really cool. So you gotta check that out. So I'm gonna head out now, and I'm gonna say goodbye and say end the stream.